Hey guys, it's Hung from Steering Wheel Wraps, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install one of our wraps. We've taken on your feedback from our first tutorial video, so in this one we're going to do no music, slower cuts, and we're going to go through a lot more detail.
We're going to be demonstrating on a Subaru Crosstrek, but the techniques shown will apply to any other steering wheel as well.
So when you receive one of our steering wheel wrap kits, you're obviously going to receive a steering wheel wrap, written instructions, a trim tool, double-sided tape, a thimble, and of course your needle and thread. So there's a few other things that you'll need to have that we don't provide to install one of our wraps, and that's a pair of scissors and a lighter. The first step to installing your steering wheel wrap is to clean your steering wheel. This removes any oils and residue from your steering wheel so that when you install the wrap over the top and use our double-sided tape, the tape will actually stick to the steering wheel. We're just using a diluted solution of an all-purpose cleaner. You can use anything, just make sure that it's safe to use on leather or whatever material your steering wheel is made from. After your wheel is clean, you can now put the wrap on the steering wheel. Inside the wrap we have an F and B sticker. The F sticker should be at the front of the steering wheel and the B sticker should be at the back of the steering wheel. You want to start by lining up the wrap on the steering wheel so that the cutouts on the wrap line up with the spokes of the steering wheel. Once you've confirmed the position, you can start by stretching the wrap over the top of the steering wheel, using one hand to stretch and the other hand to guide. Once the wrap is on the wheel, you need to ensure that there's equal amounts of material front and back of the steering wheel. What this means is that you need to line up the edges of the wrap with the center of the frame. On most leather steering wheels, you'll have the original line of stitching, but in this case, on this rubber steering wheel, you have the join line in the middle. You'll need to continue to do this step and ensure that the wrap is aligned around the whole steering wheel. When it comes to the spokes, you want to ensure that the wrap is forming to the steering wheel as it should. This means you shouldn't be able to feel any creases or bulges, and the edges of the wrap shouldn't be meeting. So this is what it looks like when the wrap is in the wrong position. You can see the corner of the wrap in this area is overlapping with the back of the wrap. This is what the wrap looks like in the proper position. You can see that when you pinch the wrap together, the edges still don't meet and the front of the wrap doesn't wrap around to the back. The other thing that you need to check is that when you grip the steering wheel from a normal driving position, you don't want the wrap to pull out of position. This means ensuring that you have enough material to tuck in underneath the plastic trim. So this is how you don't want your wrap to sit on your steering wheel. You can see that we're gripping the steering wheel in a normal driving position and it's pulling the front of the wrap out of alignment. This is exposing the top of the steering wheel and it's not giving us enough material to tuck underneath the trim. So the other thing that you also want to be mindful of is that the seams on the wrap line up with each other. So this is how you don't want your wrap to sit. You can see here that the seams are misaligned. Once the wrap has been correctly positioned on the steering wheel, you can start by adding tape in a few key areas. On most steering wheels, this is usually on the back of the 3, 6, and 9 o'clock position on the steering wheel. Essentially, wherever the steering wheel curves inward or caves in is where you want to put tape. You can then remove the backing on your tape and stick down. Now there are two ways that you can proceed with the installation. You can either choose to tuck in everything underneath the trim first, or you can leave the tucking to the very end. If this is your first time installing a steering wheel wrap, we find that it's easiest to tuck in everything first. You can start by using the trim tool to create a gap underneath the trim. You can then use the cardboard spool that holds the thread to keep this gap open. This frees up the trim tool to allow you to tuck the excess material underneath. It's important to fold the material back when you're tucking it in so as to not damage the wrap. So this is how you don't want to tuck the material underneath. You don't want to try and jam it in from the front, as this will puncture the leather and damage the wrap. The next step is to stitch your wrap together. For the small sections, you want a piece of thread 2 widths the length of your steering wheel. For the top section, you want a piece of thread 4 widths the length of your steering wheel. So you want to start by putting the thread through the eye of the needle and tying a knot on the end. Cut the end and then burn it so that it doesn't unravel. To start stitching, you need to poke the needle through the first hole at the back of the wrap, going from the inside out. Bring the thread down to the knot that you've just created. Go back through the same hole again to lock the stitch. Depending on how your wrap is sitting front and back, you don't always have to start at the end of the wrap. You can start further down the line if it means that the stitches is going to be even front and back. You then want to bring the needle to the front of the steering wheel and then going through the first loop on the wrap at the front, bringing it to the back loop and pulling through. You don't want to pull tight yet, as you only want to do this after doing 3 stitches. This ensures that the wrap is pulling nice and evenly. After the 3rd stitch, you can then pull tight. From here, you just repeat this step until you finish the section. If you find your needle is skewing towards the left of the steering wheel or in the direction that you're stitching, you want to share one of the loops that you've already gone through at the front. This ensures that you have a nice and even stitch pattern. There's not always going to be the same number of loops front and back of the wrap, so this is how you solve that problem. You can then continue stitching until you get to the end of the section. So when you get to the end of a section, to finish off, you want to go through the loop at the front of the wrap, but not at the back. Bring your needle and thread through, and then poking the needle through the actual wrap itself from the outside in is how you lock it off. You want to go through that same hole a few times to ensure that the wrap doesn't unravel. Then to finish it off, you need to tie a knot on the end of the thread. You can do this by getting the thread and a needle, wrapping the thread around the needle, then pushing the needle in close to the wheel, using your other finger to hold it in place, and then pull the needle through. This will leave a knot on the end. You can then cut off the excess and then burn so that it doesn't unravel.
Once you finish stitching up the entire wheel, you can finish off by tucking in all the excess material at the back of the wheel by using the technique shown earlier. And there you have it. You've just strapped your very own steering wheel. If you have any questions about the installation process, feel free to reach out to us and we'd be more than happy to help.